What's going on, YouTube? Salos, back with another video. Today's kind of a different video. I have a huge stack of records to show you guys. I was inspired by a fellow YouTuber, Eric Bauer. He did a video called Albums That Mold. And he sort of talked about his music history, but I'm going to kind of do the same thing in this video. This by no means to say that these are my favorite bands, but these are all albums that changed the trajectory of my musical tastes and sort of what enveloped my music history up until now. This is all albums that sort of developed my tastes and got me into one style of music into the other. So if anybody's curious about what's playing in the background, this is Amebix with Monolith. Not going to talk about them. Not going to talk about that today. But let's just get started. So for me, it all started in elementary school. It all starts with Sabbath and Kiss. Me and my friends kind of all listened to the same music growing up. We all had the Kiss t-shirts. We all had the Black Sabbath t-shirts. We loved them so much we would graffiti Ozzy and Kiss in the school bathrooms and just get in trouble. But for me, Sabbath has always been there from the beginning. Of course, this got me into bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, and the list can go on. But I love Sabbath just as much today as when I did back in elementary school. It's a band that's always been there for me, pretty much. And it's a band that sort of developed me into kind of the person I am today. When I was younger, I didn't like the Dio era because I didn't think that was Sabbath at the time. Because I thought Sabbath was Ozzy Osbourne. In my opinion, it still is. Dio is cool, don't get me wrong, but for me, Ozzy is where it's at. But Sabbath, there's not much to be said. It was the first metal band, in my opinion, and for me, it was my very first metal band. The band that got me into harder music. I did have a little spell into emo, but come on, we all get into stupid stuff when we're like fucking 10, right? It was Black Sabbath, fucking killer. Repress, it's got just awesome shit. And from Sabbath, I became an angry teenager. When I was really young, I don't want to get too personal on my channel, but it kind of got me into the music that I am into. I was abused when I was younger, so I have a lot of anger and shit, and I started skateboarding. A movie that really changed my life. I wish I would have pulled it out. It was, it's called Words of Dogtown. It's about the Z-Boys. Probably my favorite skateboarder of all time is Jay Adams. And in the movie, he goes to a hardcore punk show. And the song that is playing is Nervous Breakdown by Black Flag. So, this is Black Flag. Let's slip it in. Keith Morris's era of Black Flag was the first ever punk music that I ever heard. But this album right here, this wasn't the first Black Flag album I listened to. This is one of my favorites. But Slip It In sort of introduced me to Henry Rollins, which I am a huge fan of his personality, his outlook on life. And this also introduced me to his spoken word stuff that really, all this stuff developed. But hearing that Henry Rollins spoken word stuff when you're in middle school. That stuff is just, I don't want to say it can change your life, but for me, it was inspiring to say the least. But Black Flag was just fucking intense. And being a skateboarder, trying to skate as fast as you can, live as hard as you can, just being super pissed off at the world. That is what this music is right here. Just super fast. Maybe not that fast anymore compared to standards, but for me in middle school, this was fast as fuck. And from Black Flag, I got into other hardcore bands like Minor Threat, and it just continued on from there. But as a skateboarder, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Jake Adams. I got into Suicidal Tendencies. As you can tell, I wear khakis. You might see me wear a flannel, slick back hair. I considered myself a suicidal punk for a long time, up until a few years ago. Which I still have the long socks and dickies and all of that, but I have a hard time classifying myself now. Just because suicidal's fucking amazing. But I like a lot of stuff too. So I just want to be me. I don't want to be anything else. But Suicidal was a big influence on me. And me being into bands like DRI and stuff like that, I got my first job in middle school, and somebody who was my boss there, he actually kind of became my dad now. He just took me under his wing. He took me to my first record store ever. He took me to Ronch Records. This is a Pushead artwork. But he was a big inspiration. It is weird, he introduced me to a bunch of bands. But the first time I went to his house, I seen a big poster of this on the wall. And this caught my fucking eye. Of course, being Pushead, I love his artwork to this day. He tried to show me bands such as Gizm, but being so young, I couldn't comprehend what the music was. I didn't really get it at the time. But Gaston sort of, let's say, I could digest this, is the thing. And by listening to this, I got into bands like Gizm, LSD, but just all the Japanese hardcore bands. And of course, if you have heard Japanese hardcore before, you will know that it's pretty, I don't want to say heavy stuff, but it's on the extreme side of music. And so that got me on the road to listening to heavier stuff. Another band that he showed, and another good friend of mine also showed me, is Amebix. This is No Sanctuary and Arise. This was the only Amebix that I knew for I don't want to say for a long time, but this is the only Amebix I listened to for like a year or so. And then I expanded onto stuff like Monolith and stuff like that. But Amebix, classic stuff, D-Beat inspired. I heard Amebix before I heard Discharge. They're atmospheric. They're just awesome. I made a video on Amebix, so I don't want to talk about them too much. But this was one of the first real dark records that I really listened to. And from there, I just hit the fucking road. I was into the shit. Yeah, I just fell in love. And this is still one of my favorite bands today. It could be because it's the first band I really latched onto, the first dark, atmospheric band I heard. I spent a lot of money on these records. I love this band. These are probably two records I spent the most money on in my collection. That might show you how much I love it. I didn't have a physical copy of this for a long time until I started collecting, but I always wanted this. Now I have it. I'm so stoked on this. But if you want to hear me talk about these more, watch my Amebix video. But from Amebix, DB inspired stuff. This is a band that was pushed on to me as well by my dad. This is Hellhammer, also inspired by Discharge. Some of it, I don't want to say fully inspired by Discharge, but a lot of the music, kind of early sounding crusty stuff, definitely metal, definitely proto black metal. But I seen a patch of this on somebody's jacket, and I just thought this image looked so cool. And this is probably, when I was listening to this stuff, it's probably the beginning of high school. As you can tell, I took a more traditional route into this type of music. But Hellhammer is just awesome. It got me into Celtic Frost. It got me more into black metal type stuff. A band I didn't really get at the time, but after I heard Amebix and then I listened to this, it just fucking clicked for some reason. Another band that was more of an influence on me was Bathory, the self-titled. This is very, very punky, to be honest. I don't think I would have gone into this unless I heard Black Flag and Minor Threat and stuff like that before. But Bathory, Korthon is just amazing. This Bathory was one of my favorite bands for the longest time. They still are. But Bathory, this album especially has a lot of punk influences. But this band, after I heard this, I really got into the Norwegian style stuff. Darkthrone. This cover, when I was in high school, this really caught my eyes. Yeah, this was the first Norwegian black metal release I had ever listened to. One of my favorites. This was my favorite Darkthrone album for a long, long time. But now, my favorite one's probably Panzerfaust. But this was my introduction to Norwegian black metal. Very Celtic Frost inspired. Like I heard Hellhammer before this, I heard Bathory before this. And this is not as raw as their later stuff. But if I would have heard their later stuff, I wouldn't be able to digest, like Transylvanian Hunger, Under the Funeral Moon. I had to hear this one first. But this, everybody knows this. But it's still one of my favorite Norwegian black metal albums. My first one, and one of my favorites. And from there, I got into like death metal and black metal and just all of that type of stuff. But an album that really, a band that really took me back was this band, Pentagram. This is First Days Here. But the album that really stuck with me was Relentless. So I was into black metal and death metal, but I wasn't super into doom and stuff like that. But Pentagram, it took me back to my my Black Sabbath days. That's one of the first bands I loved. Like I love Black Sabbath. As you can see, I'm wearing the T-shirt today. But this is a documentary on Pentagram. Me and Bobby have many similarities. Not just smoking crack and doing heroin and trying to get sober, but many more than that. This is a gatefold. But this sort of, because I was really into the extreme stuff, but I said like this took me back and it regained my love for like the classic stuff. like Sir Lord Baltimore, MC5. It's just stuff like that. Of course, I've always liked the Stooges. People always ask me, what's better, the Ramones or the Sex Pistols? You know what I would tell them? The fucking Stooges. No question, no doubt about it. But Pentagram is one of the bands that introduced me to bands like Dead Moon and Electric Wizard and stuff like that. And then I went on a whole doom metal kick. And I really appreciate 60s music and 70s music because of my love for Black Sabbath and Pentagram. And if you ever watch interviews with Bobby Ludeling and you hear his band recommendations from the 60s and the 70s, check those bands out for sure. Like Rory Gallagher. Roy Gallagher. Yeah. Sorry. But he always is a cool music. But that was sort of my history up until now. That doesn't mean that those were my favorite albums by those bands, but those were the albums that introduced me into different styles of music. You can like, subscribe, dislike, unsubscribe. Yeah, I don't care. I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you guys for watching.